Alright, you guys. I don't know if you guys can hear me good. I might buy some new ones, so my audio might sound a bit trash. But as you can see by the title, couldn't really find the image that I wanted. But this is kind of I guess you could say Terminator Deku, but at the same time, it's not. Alright, so this is just a little experimentation. If you guys, do not want to see this, or if you guys hate this kind of stuff, then, I'm sorry to tell you this, but, sorry, I guess, I got nothing to do with my creative mind coming up with random things, so, yeah, anyways, this will be kind of a experimented Deku, but at the same time, it's not. So, yeah. Now, this would be kind of like a hybrid Terminator. So, Deku will kind of be the hybrid of TX and T3000. So, if you don't know, TX or the Terminatrix is like the T800 with like the T1000's liquid metal. So yeah, it's a pretty decent Terminator. Then you got the T3000, which is a humanoid Terminator. So it's like a Terminator created from like nano machines or nano phase matter. If you read the comic books, I don't really care about the comic books, but if you read the comic books, then or watch the movie at least, then you'll understand what I'm talking about. So yeah, Deku will kind of be a fusion between those two Terminators. Now, I'm gonna make this a bit different. Instead of turning Deku fully into a Terminator, I'm gonna say that the nanites, instead of rearranging Deku's body structure and genes and all that stuff, they just rearrange his body, granting him the abilities of the T3000. So yeah, this would be, a good twist. So, yeah. If you guys don't like this series, I'm sorry, but, y'all don't gotta watch it. Like, this is that simple. But, yeah, anyways, as I don't want to continue, jabbering on. So this is what if Deku was a Terminator / what if Deku was a hybrid. So yeah, let's get straight into this. So Deku is born to Inko and Hisashi Midoriya, and they both far from poor families, as Deku and Inko both sorry guys. Anyways, Deku and Inko both are pretty smart people though, but they are both in the wrong profession, I guess you would say, as they are both villains. You see, Hisashi is actually a co-worker with Dr. Ujiko, or I don't even know what they call him, but yeah, he's the co-worker of Dr. Ujiko. And Deku, when he's born, Hisashi just feels something towards his son. No homo stuff or nothing, but just he feels something like his son will be one of Master All for One's perfect experiments, kind of like the Nomus and stuff like that. As one day, one time, Deku is, I say when Deku's like about 5, Deku is put up, well, not put up for adoption. I was fit to say that, but no, he's not put up for adoption. But Deku is took it to the quirk doctor, and at the quirk doctor, he would be announced quirkless, as Hisashi would say, perfect. We have another quirkless experimentation to work with, as Hasashi, would tell his master All For One about this quirkless son of his, as All For One would say, "Thank you, Hasashi, for this experiment, sacrificing your own son for me." As Hasashi would say, "Anything for you, Master All For One." As one day, Deku's just sleeping, and Deku is taken to All For One, as it'll be staged kind of like a kidnapping, but Inko knows. No, so there's no real big deal for real, as that's when Deku will wake up after a long day and stuff, as once when he wakes up, Deku is shocked to see that he's not in his house, but he's in a different bedroom, since Deku has a perfect memory. He remembers everything, so he's extremely smart. As Deku's thinking, why isn't he in his room? As Deku would be thinking about it, as that's when somebody with the breathing apparatus would walk into his room, as Deku would say, who are you?" As All For One would say, "Oh, I'm just your godfather, kid. Me and your father were best friends for a very long time." As Deku's like, "Oh, how come I never heard of you?" As he's like, "Hasashi and I kind of, broke apart after college. We went in different ways of our professions, I should say." As Deku's like, "Oh, you never mentioned anything of you." As All For One would say, "Well, of course he wouldn't. I shall introduce myself to you. My name's Tomura Shigaraki." As Deku's like, "Okay." As as Deku would say, "Nice to meet you, Mr. Shigaraki, sir." As All For One would then say, "Well, kid, as your godfather, I feel like I should do anything to protect you. Don't you think so, kid?" Deku's like, "Yes." As All For One would say, "So that's why I want to grant you with something extremely special, child. Something that not many quirkless children like you would get, child." As Deku would say, "So, what, what, what is this special gift, Mr. Shigaraki?" As All For One would say, "Oh, you see, kid, I'm a scientist. I'm very, like I said, very close friends with your father. And I think I can help you, you know, grant out your dream of becoming a hero. Don't you want to be one?" Deku would say, "Yes, I want to be just like All Might." As All For One would say, "Okay, kid, then I'm guessing you don't mind if I do a few things to your body, right? It'll make you just like All Might. You'll be able to defeat enemies with a smile on your face." As Deku say, "No, I don't mind." Him being his innocent little kid, as All For One would get a sadistic smile, as he would say, "Okay then." As he would say, Kurogiri. As Kurogiri would appear out of nowhere, as All For One would say, "Take him to the testing chambers." As Deku would say, "Testing chambers?" As Deku would disappear into a black smog, or puddle of some sort, as he would appear inside of this place filled with a doctor's table and a tube. It's empty, but it seems like one of those things you would see in video games where they would have the humans in them, kind of like the one from Saints Row for election year that he's seen his father play plenty of times as Deku would think, do I have to go in there, mister? As Kuragiri would say, unfortunately, yes, but you won't feel a thing, kid. As Kuragiri would put a needle in Deku's neck, giving him a knockout drug, knocking him out as Deku, like I said, would pass out. And after Deku passes out, Deku would, uh, sorry, Deku would, wake up 30 minutes later to see himself tied up as his arm is being amputated and removed. As Deku screaming, ah, what's going on? What are you doing to me? As the doctor's like, as Deku's father's like, shh, calm down, my son. As he puts a amnesia mask on Deku's face, and 5 minutes later he will pass out. Since that's how long it takes for the amnesia stuff, the knockout gas to kick in. It don't take 3 8 seconds like it does in the movies. If you don't believe me, Google it. Alright. Anyways, they'll continue the surgery and they'll put Deku in that tube, as that tube is injecting nanites into Deku's body. You see, they're supposed to, one, erase Deku's memories, and two, create him into the perfect machine. But it seems like since sometimes they would, I guess you would say, reject the host sometimes, that making them form into the Terminators or T-3000s, as Deku's body was a 100% match, where now I know the majority of other ones died in the Terminator verse, and it turns them and making them like a Skynet warrior and shit like that, but that ain't how it's going to work here. Alright, so yeah, as Deku's body becomes a 100% match, and his body fully fuses with the nanites, granting him the abilities of T-3000. And if you don't know, the T-3000 can redistribute his nanites or matter, as it will kind of look like it's going into what some people like to call its mist form or dust form, as tiny little black dots would spread apart and form somewhere else. They are also pretty much invulnerable. Their only weakness is electric blast, and for the TX, his arm can transform into at least 30 different weapons, and he can also turn his arm into swords and shanks and stuff, since that's a T-3000's ability. So yeah, Deku can also scan anything with his Terminator eyes, and he can also hack into any machine with his TX hands, since if you didn't know, the TX can release these microbots that can hack into any computer, anything that has a computer in it. So yeah, as we would skip by say a few years. Now Deku's arm grows with him. As Deku would wake up, I say he's around the age of 11. As when Deku wakes up, that triggers a process where all the liquid in the tube is drained out, opening up the tube and releasing the cables that he's attached to, since they fully trust him, thinking that the nanites would erase his memories, not knowing that he remembers a thing, everything. His father and mother being villains, and his uncle, or godfather, so called, Tomura Shigaraki actually being a villain. And if you didn't know, All for One's real name is Tomura Shigaraki. Yeah, so yeah. Anyways, as or Shigaraki Tomura, however the don't want to say it, but anyways, as the Deku would leave, as Deku would find some clothes, as he would wipe off this green goo stuff and put on the clothes as Deku would realize that he has a slight problem breathing since him being attached to a breathing apparatus sort of thing. He got used to it where he can't breathe without it pretty much. Deku is desperately looking for something as he opens a drawer seeing a mask. It's not the mask on the screen, but it's one of All for One's old mask that he used to use as it covers up to Deku's nose, and that's where Deku gets the idea for his current breathing apparatus that he has in the picture. But anyways, Deku would put on his breathing apparatus, taking some gloves and putting them on, as Deku would walk around. No, he don't see anybody as somebody would see Deku walking around as they would say, Master, he's awake. After all these years, your perfect weapon is awake, guys. They're like, good. Um, send some underlings to go fetch him for me, as they're like, sure, sir. As they would send a few people, not really relevant to the story, as they come up behind Deku saying, let's go. Master wants you, as Deku would say, oh, do he? As Deku, after reading that book, knows how to use his powers, as Deku would appear as a bunch of little dust, as his hand would turn into some sort of cannon as he would blast every single one of them getting completely obliterated as as, as the person watching the camera is like, what is he doing? As All for One or Shigaraki Tomura would be like, what's going on? What's going on? As they're like, he killed them. As All for One's like, really? Yes, it seems like he retained his memories. Oh my gosh, he could be a threat to you, Master. As All for One's like, no creation of mine is a threat to me. As as he sends a bunch of more of his goons or lackeys as they go down to go take care of Deku, since All for One doesn't even know his weaknesses. Neither does Deku, since they built him to be a perfect weapon. But all weapons, all powers, everything has their backdraws, and the nanites currently holding Deku's body together is holding him through magnetic currents. So when that gets destructed by either ma- other magnetic currents, he'll fall apart, pretty much dying until his nanites restore him. Or you can just put him into some molten lava and close it, hoping to God that it'll destroy all of his nanites. He's also weak to plasma beams, so yeah. So pretty much, Opter from Fire Force is one of his enemies since he can use plasma. Anyways, as anyways as Deku would see all the people running towards him, people coming from every side of the hallways as they all take out guns, firing at Deku as Deku just phases through every gun. I mean every bullet as one of Deku's hands turns into a spike or a sword or blade as Deku drives it through two of the guy's chest at once, once as Deku's hand turns into a cannon as he will shoot out a little thing that TX has, and he blasts 5 of them as he's just massacring them all. As Awful was saying, this is impossible. I'm feeling a bit scared of my own creation. As Awful One would try to go in for the kill to kill his own creation as they're like, no, let him escape. Right now he has all this built up anger. He will definitely kill you, master. As Awful One says, you're right. I'll give him some time to cool down. I say about 4 years. That should be enough. He'll be around 15, 16 max. As they're like, are you sure you want to give him this long? He could tell our coordinates. We'll move by then. You know what? We might even play a little game of cat and dog, maybe. A game of hunt the rat. As Deku would break out of this facility as Deku would be wandering around as he would be walking back to his parents' house where they currently still live as Hasashi would hear a knock at the door as Hasashi would open it as he would get greeted to a spike through the chest and Inko sitting in the living room right across would say, what's going on? As Deku would say, hey mother, long time no see. As it reverts back to his hand as he was like, son, why did you do this? As Deku's like, you think I don't remember? You gave me to that to that monster of a person. He turned me into whatever the hell I am now. Do you think I was just gonna let you off? No, mother. I'm here to kill you. As she's like, you really want to do this? Then he's like, why not? As a little girl would come downstairs, she'd say, Mommy, what's going on? As Becky would see this little girl as Becky's like, oh, so you went off and made another child to replace me, huh? You was just gonna let that Shigaraki guy just turn me into a slave, huh? Weren't you, mother? As Becky's hand turns into a blade, and she's like, Izuku, please, don't do this. As Becky's like, don't call me that. You have no right. Call me Izuku. As Hasashi grasps me by the leg and says, son, please let her go. And Becky's like, shut up! Damn it! You guys gave me to him. You guys thought I lost my memory though. Was just gonna let me become some monster, weren't you? Let me become the slave to some villain. Well, think again. As his other hand turns into a cannon as he blasts Sashi, him disintegrating as he was stabbing go through the chest. That little girl would say, why would you do that? As Decky's like, oh, little girl, I'm guessing they were tormenting you too. As the Deku would see bruises and marks all over her as Deku would say, well, since you're their child, I guess I'll just have to eliminate you too. As Deku's hand that he was grabbing her with would turn into a blade as Deku kills the little girl, his own sister, a 5-year-old, kills her cold blood. As Deku burns the house down, erasing all evidence. As Deku's emotions are pretty messed up now that got revenge. He's thinking now, oh, he has to take care of his Tomura Shigaraki. As Deku would be walking, blood covering his shirt, as Deku would be spotted by somebody, as this man would have golden blonde hair. It's spiking up as this guy will stop this child, saying, "Child, what happened?" As Deku says, "Oh, do I know you from somewhere?" Oh, as he says nothing, as he walks away, as the man gets back in front of Deku, saying, "Child, why is there blood in your shirt?" As Deku's like, "If you really want to know, go to 7121 North North Blank Lane. There would be a burnt down house. All remains are gone." As this guy would say, "What did you do, kid?" As Deku's like, "Just got some revenge. That should have been done." As Deku gets that same sadistic laugh as he starts to walk away, as this man would grab him, as he jumps off with Deku, taking Deku to a confined cell with the police, and Deku just waiting there, making no attempt to escape. All Might would find the burning down house, and the fire department would be there. Hisashi would find the charred remains of Inko and a little girl, and no other remains, as Hisashi would just disintegrate it. As Deku would be questioned that why would he kill them? You killed a little girl. You you don't know nothing, Deku would say. As they're like, we know everything. You're a monster. You brutally murdered a mother and a little girl. Yeah, I did murder my mother and my sister. My mother deserved it, so did my father. But I bet you didn't find his remains, did you? As they're like, what are you, kid? Some monster? You murdered them in cold blood. As the deck is like, but y'all don't know why. You see, I bet you if you knew that. As Deku now remembering what Kurogiri called um Tomura, as the Deku would say, I bet you if you knew that my father, one of the lackeys of All For One, or if you know him by his real name, Tomura Shigaraki, sold me to him, making me into one of his weapons when I was only 4, having him go through gruesome experiments on me. I bet if you knew that, there would be a different story. I bet if you know that my mother was actually another villain, she would be selling the organs of little kids. You see, I read all this stuff when I woke up about 15 hours ago. So, if y'all knew all that, I bet y'all wouldn't be so harsh on me as All Might after hearing All For One's name, thinking that he killed him. I say, damn it. So this kid was an experiment of All For One. As All Might would, through the earpieces, would ask why was he experimented on, as Deku would say, oh, simple. You're experimenting on quirkless children, making them into weapons to defeat All Might. As you're like, well, since you're this perfect weapon, why aren't you trying to escape? As Deku would turn into dust, appearing behind a cop, saying, I could at any time. I can destroy this whole place, but that's not like me. You see, I want to be a hero. But now that I got blood staining my hands, I know that will be hard. But I won't murder innocent people, as the cop would say. So, why did you murder your little sister? I was just caught up in rage after seeing her beaten and bruised. I just killed everybody there. Couldn't help it. And they'll say, oh, kid, if you don't mind putting yourself back in handcuffs, as Dicky's like, oh, sorry. As Deku faces back to where he was and the handcuffs is back on him. As All Might would say, all for one, experimenting on children. You went too far. Bastard! As the police would, take that case to the judge, as the judge would be thinking that this Izuku person could be a reliable asset in the hero agency. So they give him 3 years of mental health and probation, and yeah, he's put in a halfway house too as well. So yeah, until his probation is up. And during the probation, everybody would try to pick fights with Deku, but with his mental health thing, he's trying not to kill him since Deku is easy to lash out, but sometimes he does go off the deep end, some would say, brutally hurting them, breaking their arms bit by bit, finger by finger, breaking every point of their arms to the point of no return, or crushing their legs, or making multiple weapons out of his hand and spiking them, as Deku really needs to keep that under control, and Deku still uses the breathing apparatus as it reminds him of that one man that turned him into the monster he is. As as we will time skip 2 years. 2 years, as there's 1 year left until Deku's probation is up, as he's doing work around the city and stuff like that, and Deku's 15 right now, so yeah, he's doing probation around the city and stuff like that. As one day Deku would be cleaning up some trash, and he would come across some a guy, as Deku remembers this guy, that guy being All Might, but there's something different about him. This guy that looks like All Might is actually robbing good. Looks like he's gonna rob the store, as Deku says that he's gonna go get something to eat, as they have a monitor on him, so they see what he does at all times, and they rigged it up to, even if he phases, they will still be able to track him. So yeah, as Deku would go to this bank, as it would be this guy that looks like All Might and 13 other people in this bank. It was pretty tall. It had about 200 people in it overall. As these guys like, give me the money, hurry up. As they'll say, somebody call the cops. I want some. As the dick is like, call the cops. You guys will meet your demise before the cops even come. As they're like, who are you? Huh? As Dick is like, no, the question is, who are you? Why are you disguised as All Might? You're not him. As Deku's eyes will glow blue as he's scanning the guy, saying, yeah, you're definitely not All Might. All Might weighs approximately 22 pounds over you, and plus muscle size and his muscle size and facial features are. So who are you? And plus, I counted at least 2,200 strands of hair on All Might, but you only have 1,400. Yeah, you're definitely not All Might. They're like, who are you? Some sort of fanboy freak? Oh no, I'm just a monster, some would say. As Deku disappears, as he appears behind the guy saying, so, who are you? Tell me who you truly are. And the guy shoot at Deku, but all the bullets just phase through him. And Deku's like, there's no point. There's no point in trying to kill something that's unkillable. As Deku's as the police would arrive as they're like, let out all the hostages as Deku would appear behind one of the cops with the body, with three bodies saying, let me go get the rest. That's a couple turn around with his gun cocked that like, who are you, kid? As they're like, oh, it's you, kid. What are you doing here? Oh, just taking out some trash. As Deku disappears and reappears with some more bodies, as Deku says, sorry it took so long. I had to hold myself back from killing them all. Well, ta-ta, officer. As Deku disappears into some smoke as he reappears at the halfway house as they're like, let me guess, you went off in this heroic act again. One of Deku's friends would say, as Deku's like, yeah, and I can't help myself. Whenever I see bad, I go after. Yeah, but somebody like you with such a mental instability, yeah, I don't know how you're not a villain yet. And Deku would say, oh, that's simple. It's because I'm here. And plus, I want to be a hero. So, just because I was made to be a villain doesn't mean I'm going to be a villain. As Deku would go to sleep, and we would time skip another year. They're giving Deku a mental check, saying that he's not mentally ready, but he did clear his probation. So they would say, we have no choice but to give you up, but we do request frequent visits. As Deku's like, okay. As Deku is given anger management pills and told that he needs to get them refilled every month. These anger management pills of his so he don't go killing people. As Deku says, sure. As he puts them in his pocket and he walks off. As All Might's waiting outside the gate. As Deku's like, oh, All Might, but you're here to arrest me again? What did I do this time? And All Might's like, I'm not here to arrest you, kid. Get in the car. And Deku's like, oh wow, the almighty All Might drives the car. As All Might's like, just get in the car, kid. I got I, I got some things I need to discuss with you. As Deku's like, sure, sure. As Deku would get into All Might's car, as it would be like this giant truck to fit his, giant body when he's not in, Toshinori Yagi form or Small Might, some would say. When technically Deku is Small Might, but anyways, All Might, as Deku says, so All Might, what is it you wanted to talk to me about? As All Might would say, alright, you might not want to talk about this kid, but it's about All For One. As Deku's like, what about him? Did you guys find him? As All Might's like, no, and can you cut it out with that weird villainous voice? As Deku's like, sure, but I like it. It makes me sound cool. Makes me sound like a villain, don't it? As almost like, do you really want to be a hero? Deku's like, yes, of course I do. As almost like, anyways, so let me tell you a little something, kid, and I know you're probably going to, not want this, but I just want to tell you in case if I give it to somebody else, there'll already be somebody that knows about this. As Deku's like, so what is it, All Might? Deku, as All Might was saying, let me tell you the history between me and All For One. As he goes to explain why All For One wears a breathing apparatus, and he also explains to Deku Deku about his injury, and then he goes to explain his quirk as he offers it to Deku to well, what All Might thought would decline it. As All Might's like I thought. Well, at least you know about it in case if I give it to somebody else. As as Deku's like, sure, but why would you tell me, huh? And All Might's like, cause I trust you, kid. As Deku's like, okay. As All Might's like, so kid. UA College is opening in a few years after they shut down the high school after all those villain attacks. As Deku's like, uh-huh. As All Might's like, I was hoping you would join. As Deku's like, sure, why not? It would help me become a hero. So, I guess so. As All Might's like, alright, good kid. As almost like, so we're still trying to find you a place to live. So, yeah, about as Dick was like, oh, it's fine. I have some money from my parents, so I can use that to buy myself a place. As almost like, okay, as Deku would take the money from his parents that they earned, since they were actually disguising as poor people, but they were actually loaded, having millions of dollars. So Deku buys himself a small house, and it's a bedroom, since the second bedroom is just like a little guest bed bedrooms, which he never has guests. He has a PS4, PlayStation. I mean, a PS4 and an Xbox One, and has a phone, of course, and pretty, minimal guy. He has a fish tank with like some with some goldfish and another fish tank with an axolotl, and yeah. Anyways, as Deku, one day will be walking as a girl would bump into him, as this girl would fall as she'll say, "Oh," and Deku would look over to this girl as this girl would be covered in bandages, as Deku would say, "Are you okay, little girl?" As she's like, "No." As Deku would say, "Are you okay? Come with me, little girl." As that's when a man with a crow mask would step out saying, "Oh, she's okay. She's just a bit whiny. Kids these days." As Deku's like, "Oh yes, I know." As Deku's eyes would go blue as he scans him, saying, "So, you, you're Overhaul, aren't you? Or Shisaki, Quirk Overhaul, can, from my knowledge, rearrange matter, aren't I right?" As Chisaki would say, "Oh, are you looking for me, kid? Are you trying to join me? Since I know who you are, too. The weapon created by All for One. But you went rogue, aren't I right?" Dick is like, "So what? I see you went down Overone's path and started experimenting on children, I see." And Shisaki says, "So what?" And so Dick is like, I gotta kill you, right? Well, if not kill you, brutally injure you. Probably rip off your arms, twist your legs into pretzels, have some fun." As Shisaki says, "I like you, kid, but not today. Maybe another time." As Dick is like, "Nah, I don't think so." And as his hand turns into a blade, as Shisaki gets ready to touch the wall, as Deku disappears, grabbing Eri as he reappears, saying, "Okay, if you want to start this fight, I'm guessing I should at least take her to somewhere place. Your precious little experiment. Now, I know you can kind of bring people back to life, but not fully. Once they're gone, they're gone. you can't really bring someone back to life. You know that, right? And Shisaki like, so what? Meaning, if you kill her, you can't bring her back to life. I hope you know that. And he's like, yeah, I know. And Dicky's like, alright. As he disappears, taking her somewhere, as he reappears, as he's like, so, you want to start this fight? And I'm not going to kill you right away. Or, I'm not going to get you so beaten up that you wish you were dead. I want to take my time, play with you a bit, you feel me? And Shisaki's like, sure. As he touches the wall, as the wall turns into tentacles starting towards Deku, as they go straight through Deku, as Deku just disappears and reappears, no hole in his chest. And as Shisaki says, oh, so, is that your quirk or something? You can heal yourself when you disappear and reappear? Oh no, I'm quirkless. You see, this is the experiment that All For One did to me. He made me a monster, or somewhat like to call it, a hybrid of some sort. You see, I know you heard of the cyborg robots that used to be around some time ago. Yeah, well, it seems like All For One injected me with some of the nanites from one of them and gave me one of their arms. So, technically, you could say I'm a Terminator, but I'm not. Anyways, let's continue this fight. I'm starting to get bored and I don't want to kill you. As he's like, sure, as he would snap his fingers as the 8 bullets would come out as Shosaki says, I'm gonna need you guys. Since this guy might be a pain in the butt as two of them would get next to him as they would both, merge with Shisaki's body as the other two goes back to his base as Shisaki would charge towards Deku, breaking the ground as people would be alerted as they would all start rushing as some of the low lifes there would see Shisaki and Deku fighting as they're like, oh yeah, the kid definitely got this. But just in case, we're gonna call in some of the big guns as that's when, Deku, I mean they would call in people like Night Eye, Aizawa, and Endeavor as they would be rushing over there as the fight with Deku and Shisaki would go like this. Deku is getting impaled by all of Shisaki's things, not really wanting to dodge them since he don't have the need to. As Deku would just keep toying with him as once Shisaki, I'm gonna say I'm gonna say that behind him was a gas station as he opened up one of the pumps with his giant tentacle arm things in and stuck his hands in them as he had a lighter as he lights his tentacles in fire as they go to Deku as they are burning Deku's what they think is his skin falls off, revealing his underneath where he's not a Terminator, they're just seeing his skeleton pretty much as it's burning with hot magma as they can see the color in him start to come back as Deku's like, whoa, I kinda felt that. As he's like, well, I guess I should end this as in the blink of an eye, Deku's behind him as Chisaki gets impaled through the chest by one of Deku's little knife arms and he would fall to the ground as he would put his hand in his chest fusing it to heal himself as two of his lackeys would come taking him back to the base as Deku's like, oh, I wish I could have finished him off as when Night Eye, Endeavor, and Aizawa would arrive, seeing Deku, they knew something must have happened as they, asked what happened as the people, as the low life heroes would say. he was fighting Shisaki or Overhaul as Nada's like, wait, he was fighting him? Where is he? He retreated. Why isn't he following him? As Night Eye's finna go chase after him in the direction that the people say go. As Deku's like, don't follow him. I'm sensing that there's a trap. Don't follow him. We'll give him some time. But I did get one of his experiments as Deku disappears and reappears with the little girl. As the little girl said, where did I go? It was so dark. As Deku's like, I'm sorry. Well, you're back now. As Aizawa says, what did you do with this little girl? As Deku's like, over there, I took her to that abandoned workhouse and locked her inside of a room. So, well, I guess that was a bad decision in case if it got targeted, but I didn't want her to get stabbed by any projectiles or anything. As Aizawa says, that was pretty smart, I guess. As Aizawa says, well, we're going to take her to the doctor and register her and put her into an orphanage. As Deku's like, no need. She can live in my guest bedroom. That's fine. As they're like, we're not letting a little girl live with you. The last time, as Deku's like, I won't hurt her. I told you. That happened because I was caught up in my emotions. And plus, didn't I say I won't kill any civilians? As I was like, sure. But if anything else happens to her after we get these injuries healed, she's automatically out of your care. You got that, pal? As Deku's like, sure, I got that. As Deku would adopt Eri. Yeah. He would decorate her room pink and stuff. Him kind of feeling more like a human. And that's gonna be it for this series. I mean this episode. So yeah. Hope you guys like it. Peace.